You.
Hey, listen, about earlier.
Yeah, about that.
Hey, I see you found your missing señorita.
Señorita has a name and it's Ashley. You are?
Name's Luis. Encantado.
Great. We all have names. Now then. Who are you? What are you doing here?
Very good questions, unfortunately.
Hide, now.
In that case, here, help me.
Ashley, quick! Over here.
Go. Okay, it's game time.
Hello, and welcome to episode 42 of the video game podcast, PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the sorcerer to my necromancer, Jon. Jon, I've been having this feeling, even after last weekend, and what we're going to talk about is that this year is going to be one of the biggest years in video games.
Yeah, I mean, based on the start we've had and the potential of games coming out, I would have to agree. Why? You trying to sneak in Mario Odyssey into the world so you can
we don't even know.
Shore away your fantasy league?
I mean, we got rumors of how fall's going to shake down, but we don't even have all the fall games yet. And I'm just thinking, like, we're going to be talking about Diablo IV, Resident Evil 4, and Tears of the Kingdom. And that's just the first 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely off to a start so far that has one of the highest levels of overall consistency. What the year needs to get into that conversation of, is this the greatest year ever? Is that, ironically, that Tears of the Kingdom needs to be a 97 again.
Right.
Where you have those one or two releases that just people can't believe how good they are. Maybe Starfield could be one. I doubt it. Spider-Man 2, could get up there. But
Final Fantasy 16, which we found out today just went gold. That game is going to hit its release date, so that's happening.
Yeah.
And then we're getting more Cyberpunk. There's going to be some Phantom Liberty news in June.
Yeah, but that game's not good, though.
Okay. My game of the year, huh?
Listen, you besmirched my Kratos with that game, so I'm not gonna let that go. That
was number 2.
That's show lore, Nick.
And besmirched Kratos. You just said last episode that Elden Ring would be your game of the year.
Elden Ring, all right? This is the most awarded game of all time.
So, it's constantly in my brain of like, man, I got to get through some games here. And same with you is like, I know you got this Elden Ring monkey on your back, and we talked about like getting ready before June, but then I forgot all about that you want to play Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, that monkey's bending me over hard right now. Just giving it to me raw. It's I never really gave Tears of Kingdom the amount of thought that I feel like I should have at this point, and it's sneaking up. And as we'll talk later on the show, we got to see a little bit of it, and I'm incredibly excited for it. So I mean, at least with that game, it's a Switch game, which makes my dad life, it makes it a little bit easier to maybe fit in some time with it. But yeah. It's not easy for me right now, Nick.
Yeah, I understand.
Ever since Ferris Bueller's Day Off with me, I'm back on my 6 hours a week at the most.
Yeah, that's all right. Well, hopefully you'll get there in time.
Yep.
And it doesn't help that Elden Ring is just a huge game. Like
until then, we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
We get to be here and talk about it.
That's true. All right, so let's get into the show because we got a lot of games to talk about. This is how it works. Jon and I both bring 3 things to the table for a total of 6 things. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, or a Twitter DM at PSPalsPod. Follow us there if you want to get updates on the show. So let's kick it off. Johnny done the spot you last show about the upcoming weekend in which we would be playing Diablo 4. Now, Unfortunately, my house turned on me, and I lost power Saturday night. It was a small weekend. It was probably the biggest beta ever, and the release of Resident Evil 4, and my power had to go out for about almost 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I'm just gonna blame the wheel. It's just the wheel's fault. I don't know how, but it is. So shockingly enough, it was not my fault, and family obligations that got in the way of that.
Yeah, you were there.
Yep, I was there. I played a little bit, but luckily we did both get our hands on it though, right, Nick? Got to check it out.
Yeah.
After you got your power back up.
That's true. Yeah, I played a couple hours. I got to level 17 with the necromancer. You got to level 8 with a sorcerer. Which appears to be the two most popular classes in the game. Blizzard released a bunch of stats, and they were the most played classes.
Do you know what was I'm just curious. I don't know what the stats were. What lowest was?
No, they didn't say which one was the lowest, but
it's got to be barbarian. Barbarian's so boring.
Well, a lot of people said that the barbarian and the druid were just not very good. Like
really?
they need some buffs.
Yeah.
I saw an article, I think it was from PC Gamer, saying they almost died in the early opening sections as the barbarian because they just were taking so much damage and not inflicting enough. So
yeah, I got a bit. I fucked around with one up to level 5, which was nothing. But I can see that for sure. Yeah, it just never felt good. I'm getting no damage output and all the damage input. So yeah, that makes sense. But
so it was a pretty meaty beta. It gave us access to the entire starting zone, and I didn't even come close to seeing I don't even think half of it. But we can give our thoughts on it. I played the Necromancer, as I mentioned, and I kind of really like the design. You're limited to kind of 6 skills, and I think that's like the right number. I don't remember how many you got in Diablo 3 yet. You could equip at one time.
I mean, it's all the face buttons and then 2 triggers. Yeah, so 6.
Okay. Yeah, I still think that's a great design. Even though there are so many skills in the trees in this game, I think like if you had more than 6 skills, it would be unmanageable.
No.
Like to remember what is what and which one's doing it.
Yeah. That was one of my big. I remember when I got my hands on Diablo 3 on the consoles, and which was obviously the first one on consoles, and it was just like, how is this going to translate to a controller? And then I remember being very pleased, like, oh, very well. It converts very well. So. Yeah,
well, having a dedicated dodge button helps. You know, like having the O button be a get out of trouble button. But I kind of really enjoyed my brief time with it. I was rolling multiple skeletons. I even got exotic gear that let me have even more skeletons. So I was running with 6 skeleton warriors and 5 skeleton mages. Yeah. So I was just steamrolling everything that I ran into.
Jack was very impressed with your skeletons. So yeah, he found something. He had 12 of them going. He was very impressed. Yeah, and it was like, just nothing would hurt me, and counters would just be insane. Like I found a cursed chest, which just randomly would summon a bunch of demons, and it was just chaos. Like I couldn't even see my guy. I had skeletons swinging and doing magic, and I also had the ability to explode corpses. So it was just utter chaos. But I didn't get hurt at all. That's exactly what you want in Diablo, though.
Yeah,
like you want the chaos and get out the other side of it and be like, oh, I'm a god. Yeah, and I got some sweet loot now.
Yeah, and I was playing on veteran as well. So, I never got touched. I never got close to dying. My scythe would heal me too. So it was just I was just steamrolling, and I don't know if that was your similar experience with the sorcerer. I hear the sorcerer is very powerful as well.
Sorcerer is good. I went with the sorcerer because I typically, go towards the bow and arrow type characters with this kind of stuff, and I felt like, I don't know, I looked at the the skill tree of it, and there's like traps and things, and I've never really been a big fan of that. So I thought, sorcerer, okay, I'm doing an intelligence build in Elden Ring, I'll stick with some magic. And yeah, it was a really cool character. I mean, right off the bat, one of the coolest things is that, it was very easy to play ranged or up close. I had obviously fireballs that I could shoot off in the distance, but also like some electric arc melee thing that I could do to swing around. So it was nice to be able to keep people at a distance, and if they got close, to kind of hit them with that. But I mean, so when it comes to the overall impressions of the game itself, I unfortunately, I don't think I have enough to kind of speak to the game design and things like that. Hearing that you came across a cursed chest and a whole bunch of stuff like that. That's kind of the stuff I'm looking for that I would hope to see in Diablo. I'm really hoping they kind of take a lot of liberties when it comes to just organically coming across things in the world, so that you have, it's not just the same things over and over again. It's not, okay, I'm going into a dungeon, there's going to be a bad guy at the end of the dungeon, I cleared it out, now I go here. It's like coming across weird things. What the hell is that? And, oh my god, it's a huge monster or something. Like, I hope they do that. But
yeah, it didn't happen to me, but I heard the butcher can find you. Like, you'll just be anywhere randomly, the butcher can come out.
Yeah.
Which is a famous Diablo boss. I think he was the first boss in 3.
First boss in 3, and he was also the first boss in 1.
Okay.
I remember playing Diablo 1 on my family's PC and coming across him. But I think overall, from what I had, the limited time with it, I realized a couple things that betas I don't think are for me, man. Like, this was one of the first betas I actually tried to set time aside for, and really get into it. And I just kind of the entire time I was just like, I'm gonna be playing this again. Like, I'm gonna if I'm gonna play it in the future. Like, what am I doing? Do I really need to get my Diablo fix right now, or should I focus on the other 1,000 games that I haven't been able to play? So for me personally, it was a little hard to get into it that far, which is why I stopped at level 8. But it's Diablo, man. I mean, if you like Diablo, if you're into the grind, if you're into cool abilities and chaos like Nick was describing, it's definitely gonna be up your alley. Hopefully it launches well. That was that's Blizzard's kind of MO with some of these properties, is they don't launch particularly well. So hopefully they take this stuff they learned with the beta, have it in a good place when it does come out. But
it's interesting because outside of Friday night when I was just testing it out and had the 40-minute wait, their queue times were nothing. Saturday night we didn't have any issues with queue times.
Yeah, well, you joked you asked me when we would play it, and I jokingly said release date because I just didn't think we would get in. And yeah, I think I got 40 was the longest that I waited, and 3 minutes I think was the shortest, if not instantaneously when I tried one time. So that was good to see. Definitely seems like Blizzard's ready for it, and they need a big win, right? Activision Blizzard needs a big win, and if Diablo falters, they're in bad news. But yeah, I don't know, man. I am personally on the fence with this game, not from a quality standpoint, not from an excitement standpoint, but literally just, will I have the time to do it?
So that was my realization playing the game, and why I also told myself to stop playing, because as you mentioned, time is the most valuable thing. Yep. And when all your progress in this game is going to be wiped anyway in the beta, it doesn't carry over. Why do the grind, get all these characters to level 25 or whatever? But between the map, the quest, the side quests, the world events, there is also other players running around, and there's all these dungeons. There's 20 dungeons on the map, and this is just the starting area that I could see. That this game is going to demand so much of your time, and it's going to be such a grind for the whole time, that I'm on the fence of whether I want to get into it. Do I want to play this game? And if it was if no games were releasing, but we're Final Fantasy 16, we know is now coming for sure later that month. We'll be playing games before that. Street Fighter 6 is looking appealing to me too. It's pulling me in. Do I want this game that I'm instantly going to know that I'm going to have to spend 100 hours in? I don't. It's going to be a very hard choice, and and I know when it comes out and the reviews are through the roof, it's also going to be hard to resist. Yeah. But that was my little realization over the weekend, is man, I don't know if I want to just do this, because while it is cool making a bunch of guys explode over and over again, doing it over and over and over again just so that I get that loot grind, is just, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, that was 14-year-old John style. I don't know if that's 33-year-old John. Yeah, I mean, it's for me, I'm definitely not getting it at launch. I'll probably, me with my impulse buying, it'll probably be I'm hoping for a $30 range for when I would want to get it, because I don't think I'm going to be able to resist it forever. I would like to play through the campaign, but the other side of Diablo is, from the diehards of it, I've always heard the game starts when you beat it, because then you unlock adventure mode, which unlocks all this other extra shit, and it's just what's my end game? So that's the question I need to answer myself: is what is my end game with it, and we'll go from there. But it is definitely high quality. I would be excited about it if you are planning on getting it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like visually, it looks really good. It's very dark. They're very mysterious. They actually have interactive cutscenes where your character actually moves around and emotes, so it feels a little more natural, not just everyone just, as we've seen in every video game, the back and forth just standing there at each other.
Yeah.
So the world seems more realized.
The good old Hogwarts legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
I do want to, since you brought up cutscenes, and I guess I missed this, maybe because when it came out, I was like, yeah, it's Diablo, I'm going to play it, I don't care. But the opening cutscene I thought was fucking awesome. And it was, I guess, the same one that they showed 3 years ago when they first announced it, but... I was shocked I just thought it was super cool, just that whole vibe that it gave out, and like the birth of what Lilith is the bad guy. Mm-hmm. It's just super cool. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to be old. I want to be young again. Right? I have all the time in the world,
Yeah.
But alas.
But that being said, I mean, it could be a chill game to play. We always talk about those games where you can just turn your brain off and just play through it.
Good podcast game,
Yeah, this could be that game. This could be a game you might be able to play on your backbone and just, knock it out, and just because again, it's mindless, and especially until you fight like certain bosses, you really don't have to pay much attention. You're just hitting the same buttons over and over again.
It's almost like a proto auto battler. It's not an auto battle. You have to hit buttons, but if you get to a certain point, you really don't have to do much.
Right. Well, yeah,
in a good way though. It's still fun.
Yeah. So I enjoyed my time with it. I just don't know if I can put myself into that grind, but we'll see. We'll see where I'm at in June.
Yeah, I wonder if it's this or Street Fighter 6 is like, or if you ignore both of them entirely and just say, I'm just gonna wait for Final Fantasy, and then
that's probably what really is gonna happen.
Yeah, you'll be playing something else. Get back to Neon White.
Yeah, again, I'm in the same boat. There's a lot of games coming out. I'm playing Resident Evil 4, as we're just about to talk about. Persona 5 still. Jedi Survivor. Horizon Burning Shores.
Isn't it sad though that you're not mentioning Suicide Squad in that conversation? Doesn't that hurt a little bit? That sucks.
Yeah.
Like that. It's just.
Well, it's gonna get delayed.
Yeah, I know, but still, just.
But yeah, it would be if that was a good game too. That's kind of how this year's been. Is like you just gotta pick your battles, pick your games. Yeah. And try and get through some. So I'm trying to, Resident Evil 4 is only 16 hours, and I'm kind of like, that's nice.
Yeah. I just thought, I have 3 games beat this year. We were talking the other day about how many games I have. I got Dead Space 2. Dead Space, Dead Space Norco, and Turtles.
There you go.
Woo! Yeah.
But, all right, let's move on, because the other big game released was Resident Evil 4. I am on Chapter 9, which puts me about, I think, halfway through the castle section of the game. And it is a very faithful adaptation of Resident Evil 4. There are plot details that would come up, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember this happening now. So it's very pretty. It plays obviously a lot better. Anyone who played the demo, anyone who's played Resident Evil 3 or Resident Evil 2 will know, because it's the same engine. But the one thing that's kind of turning me off, because I am playing it in this lens of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 4, is just how arcadey it is. It is all about combat encounters after combat encounters. And not to say Resident Evil has always had combat encounters, but usually it's about survival, it's about puzzles, and this doesn't really have that. It's just not really. All the puzzles are very simple. They're kind of limited to a single room. You're never kind of exploring a region. You're just going kind of on this linear path to this and this and this, and there's just a lot of enemies, like more enemies than you'll have ever seen in the series. And the spectacles there, all the big boss fights. I did the big lake fight. I fought a couple trolls already. And I kind of prefer the other way. I kind of like Resident Evil 2 and 3, where they weren't as, bombastic. Yeah. Even the merchant character is just so out of place. He's so absurd, and it kind of really. And I know Resident Evil is campy, like that's part of it. but man, is he just the biggest camp. He's just not a believable character to exist. And maybe you felt the same way about the merchant in Resident Evil 8, that big fat guy.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you pivoted, because I was like, no, the merchant in 4 when I played it through was awesome, but back in the day. But yeah, the one in 8 definitely felt the exact same way. It's like, yeah, you're a cool design and like I like everything, but when I try to just like, I don't know, fit you into this world, it just feels weird.
Right.
And it might just be as simple as like we've gotten past this in the industry. Like in 2005, like when the game first came out, a character like that merchant, maybe, yeah, like you embraced the camp a little bit more, because things haven't gotten to a realistic sense that we've really gotten to at this point, where it's just like, it's cool. And I haven't played the game yet, for full disclosure, so like, you know, these are Nick's opinions. I'm just kind of trying to say my piece, but yeah, it might take you out of it a little bit, for sure.
Yeah.
But this is also like the same game where there's a little tiny Napoleon man running around. Yeah. So like, I don't know.
He's very creepy in this, though.
Yeah.
He is very creepy looking. Yeah, and also like the game is you never item management is just really not a thing. I know you were psyched about the case management.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not really an issue in the game. Like I've never had to sacrifice. I can always have at least one handgun, one shotgun, one rifle, one bolt thrower, flashbangs, grenades. I can carry all that stuff. And the game throws so much money at you that you're just, you know, you're upgrading all your weapons, you're doing everything right. It's just, yeah, it kind of just removes that one element of the game, which is, you know, resource management, you know, puzzles, you know, making notes of where things are. So when you do get that certain key to come back, you know, it kind of removes all those elements, and I think it takes away from the game.
Do you think that some of your issues might be resolved by playing on a higher difficulty?
No, because I think it would just make those stressful sections where they, like I said, they throw so many guys at you, and you know you got to manage them, and then you got to, you know, when Ashley gets introduced, you got to manage her. You know, you got to tell her to hide or tell her to be close to you, and then you're fighting guys, and a guy will sneak up behind you, carry her away, and then I swear to God, every time I play the game, I shoot Ashley in the head once because she's getting taken away, and I'm being swarmed by guys. I'm just like trying to fire off shots at the guy, just trying to hopefully one bullet hits him and he drops her, and I always hit her in the head.
Yeah.
Like
you have always hated women, so I mean it makes sense.
No.
Just kidding.
And just to speak of Ashley, I actually really do like the character in this. I think they did a great job of animating her fear and her just body language in general. That it's very believable that she would be as freaked out as she is.
Yeah.
And I do like the dialogue. I do like the dialogue between her and Leon, and I think that's great. And I will have to disappoint everybody. You know, in our very first podcast, we used the ballistic missiles line from the original Resident Evil 4. It's not in this.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Garbage, man.
But the writing's is better. It still can be cheesy at times. I really don't like the dynamic between Ada Wong and Leon.
You never have, though.
No.
You've always hated Ada.
Yeah, she's just an absurd character that can just pop in and out whenever she pleases.
Yeah.
And then she's kind of Leon's weakness, even though she betrays him all the time. You know, like, it's fine.
So sounds like you like the game. You're not in love with the game.
Right. Yeah, that's probably it.
Would you rank Resident Evil 3 as your number one of the remakes?
2, 3, and 4?
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I feel like you're a very small minority.
No, I am. I'm sure I am.
Yeah.
Because I know Resident Evil 3 is probably the least liked one.
Yeah, typically.
But I definitely went into that as I knew ahead that it was 6 hours.
It was also the only one you never played, right?
Yeah. The original, yeah.
Right.
And then also I wasn't there for the tacked on multiplayer, which we talked about. So I just went to it as a game in the series, and again, as we talked about, you know, like the length of a video game can be a good thing now now that we're older. Yeah. And it was like, 6 hours, sweet.
Let's do it.
You know, it's just enough time to pop in and pop out. So
all you kiddos out there, know that you got it good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's, you know, because I have heard from, you know, obviously I think it's sitting on a 92 right now on OpenCritic, and I've talked to some buddies of mine, you know, they're in love with it. So that is my I'm not fearful of it, but the moment you start introducing high volume of enemies into a survival horror game, it removes probably my favorite part of a survival horror game, which is like a sense of dread and a sense of just kind of feeling a little bit helpless. And as soon as I start roundhouse kicking people and having 300 bullets in my machine gun, it removes that a little bit. So I'm trying to put my mind in a place that, especially after hearing you talk about it, this is more of an action game than a survival/horror game. So, correct. But I loved 4 when it came out when I was younger. So if it is faithful, like I know I'm gonna love it. I hope that I'm not feeling like I did at the end of Dead Space or at the end of what was the other survival horror game that Resident Evil Village, where at the end I'm just like I said, 400 bullets with my machine gun. I'm not even thinking about anything. I'm just literally just putting a red dot on enemies' heads. So, hopefully I don't feel that way, but I'm still very excited to play it. So, I'm sure once you get it done, you'll have it done. Shit, man, you might have it done on Monday, knowing you. Yeah,
probably. So. Yeah, I do want to finish it so I can get back to Persona. Yeah. But, I just don't think... And also, it's funny, when I played the game back then, I probably beat it like 6-7 times, again, because I was younger.
Did you really? Holy shit.
Yeah, like I unlocked all the skins and all kinds of stuff like that, and that's what these games are built on. I already know, like, this game has New Game Plus. Yeah. I know there are a bunch of skins. And I forgot about that the game takes place in chapters. Like, it's kind of like each chapter is kind of like an episode, and it ends, and you kind of get like a summary screen, and you can save, and then you go on to the next chapter.
Yeah, that is very mid-2000s. Yeah, Devil May Cry was always the same way.
Yes, it is very much like Devil May Cry. So there's these things that are everything's just coming back to me. So, I'll probably beat the game and then I'll be done with it. I probably won't touch it again.
So Dead Space probably won your survival horror remake battle.
We'll see. I haven't finished it yet. Okay.
All right.
But,
good enough.
So far.
All right. Nick hates Resident Evil 4, guys. Just kidding. All right. Well, let's move into another juggernaut franchise. As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we got some gameplay from a much anticipated game, and although this is called the PlayStation Pals, when these large scale games, something like a Starfield comes out, we got to talk about them. And that game is Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So I believe it was Tuesday. We got was it Monday?
Yeah, Tuesday? Monday it was announced that they were going to get the 10-minute.
Well, Monday was announced. Tuesday they showed it.
Yes, correct.
Right, okay. Yeah. Got a little over 10 minutes of gameplay, and it wasn't so much gameplay as it was just kind of, I think, showing us a couple of the new systems, new skills that Link has, and going into this game, it's standing on the shoulders of IGN's #1 game of all time, right? Like, we're not talking like a sequel to something like a small game. This is a big deal, and so there's some apprehension because it's like, okay, it looks so similar. They're using the same map. Like, is this going to be able to justify the sequel to a Zelda game? And
it's funny because we just went through this with Ragnarok.
I know. Yeah, it's just you get these huge games, and it's like, God, how are they going to improve it? And they do usually. Like when you hit these teams that have been with these franchises for so long, they know what they're fucking doing. They know these worlds and these systems and these characters and everything better than we do. So you got to just trust them sometimes. And after seeing this 10 minutes, man, I am fully on board with what they're doing here. One of the biggest things I think that people were surprised about with Breath of the Wild is how interactive it was and how the physics were at play in the world, where you could kind of think of a situation and be like, is that going to work? And then it usually did. And it's very, very impressive, especially if you play a lot of video games, because you know that it takes a lot of programming and development to get these systems to work with one another. And they're taking it to a 10th degree with this one, at least, and just based on four little skills that they showed us. The first one that they showed us is called the recall mechanic, and the big thing with this game is there's these sky islands up way above Hyrule, right, that basically almost create a second type of world. And so one of the first questions is, well, how do we get up there? And so Link has a new ability called Recall, where with specific objects, he's basically able to rewind time. So they showed this huge rock falling out of the sky. Link's able to climb on top of it, use Recall. It transports him up into the sky. He gets on the thing. Okay, that's pretty cool. Like, that's nothing. It's not going to break the game in any physics way, but it's still pretty cool, right? And then they show off a new skill called Fuse. And this is where I started to go like, okay, this game's going to be pretty fucking cool, where One of the drawbacks of Breath of the Wild that people didn't like was weapon durability. The weapons kept breaking. You have to keep getting new ones. You fall in love with the weapon. You don't get to keep it for a while. And so while they didn't get rid of that entirely, which I think is probably a good idea because I don't know, it just would completely redefine how the game is. They decided to put in this new ability called Fuse, which allows Link to fuse together 2 items to basically create a brand new weapon. So the example they showed us is he has a little stick. It breaks super easy. So what does he do? He finds a huge ass boulder in the world, goes up next to it, hits a button, and then boom, the boulder's on the end of his stick, and it's a huge fucking hammer, and he just beats the shit out of people. It's great. So then that opens up your head. You're like, oh, okay, so is it just a couple things? No, man, it's everything. You can combine so many things, it seems like. You know, they showed us an example where he had a bow and arrow. He put an eyeball, which fell off of a weird bat character. It's just like something used for cooking. He combines an arrow with an eyeball. Now it's a heat-seeking arrow. He puts a frost jelly onto the arrow. That's basic stuff, right? You can freeze enemies. He had a very long wooden pole. That's just kind of think of it like like a wooden pole, I guess. And he came across a pitchfork, and he fused those together, and then he had this super, super long pitchfork that he could just kind of poke enemies away from really far away. And that's just, I love that kind of stuff, man. I love the sense of wonder and like, what's this gonna do? What's this gonna do? What's this gonna do? You're just gonna combine everything. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And that's not all. And we got this new ability called Ultra Hand, and this is probably the one that's going to have the biggest ramifications on the game itself, where basically you can glue things, right? So the example they used in this showpiece is there's a big wide river. Link is very stamina dependent. He can't swim across the entire river. He's going to drown. So he gets a couple pieces of logs together, glues those together, sees this weird fan thing, attaches that to the back of it, attaches another one, boom, he's made a boat. He hits the fan thing, starts going across the river, and that's his way to get across. But it's not as basic as that. They've shown hot air balloons that people have built. They've shown like you can attach a canvas to the boat, and if there's wind present, the wind pushes the boat. Then you attach fans to the bottom of it, hit the fans, they shoot you up into the sky. I won't take credit for this because, you know, we watched a video of it earlier from a YouTuber that Nick and I both love, Kyle Bossman. He's great. But they're making a broken game, but in the best ways. Like, they're basically inviting players to say, go fucking crazy, see what you can do to break it. And I think that takes a lot of fucking balls, and it takes incredible amounts of talent to have developers in place to be able to do those kind of things. And then the last ability that they showed off, I believe it was called Ascend, which basically allows Link to just, swim through any physical barrier as long as it's straight up. So if he's in a room, he's in a jail cell, and there's a ceiling to it, he can use the ability, he pops out of the jail cell. You're in a cave. On top of that cave is a mountain. On top of that mountain is a field. You can use it in that area so that you don't have to worry about fucking climbing up the hill, climbing up the mountain, using the stamina, finding a thing, falling off, figuring out a different way. One of the things I liked least about Breath of the Wild. And these are just a couple different examples. Obviously, it's what they wanted to highlight. So obviously, like, these are going to be some of the bigger changes. There are still some concerns I think I have just in the fact that, like, I'm hoping Hyrule doesn't feel too samey. You know, if, like, they have these sky islands and these new abilities that kind of tailor to, work with that system, it's like, hopefully the land of Hyrule hasn't been left behind. It's just more of the same. But I think even with the skills present, even if it is the same map, it allows you to play with that map so much differently. And, I've ranted for a long time, but Nick, I know you got a chance to watch it too. What were your quick impressions of it, besides me just saying everything that the entire thing just had?
So I never played Breath of the Wild, and I can tell from watching this video that it's not for me. Yep. Like, these systems just don't do anything for me. I just don't want to play. Fucking around in a world doesn't interest me anymore. As it goes in regards to gaming, I don't like Minecraft or any other. I just don't have the creativity, I guess, anymore. But as from watching this, is a great way to display a game. I think it just shows you enough to kind of like, because this game has been dark for so long. Like I said, we didn't even mention it when we were talking about, you have to beat Elden Ring by June. Totally forgetting that this game is like the beginning of May. Yep. And Nintendo's been kind of dark on it until this video, and it was just a great overall presentation. Like I said, it showed you like the base mechanics. It got your brain moving. They're very coy about showing a lot of views where you can see a lot of crazy stuff in the background. After you use that recall mechanic, he's sitting on this island and you can see a dragon in the background flying around. You can see this big cloud that has lightning bolts shooting from it. And just like, again, it just like it's what's not said, that's actually really important. And I wish more games would do this or have the confidence to do this, to just go, we're not going to show you an action-packed trailer. We're not going to show you Ganon or some big boss fight. We're just going to, show Link doing the most basic things ever, fusing a rock to a stick, and then just letting the players just like go wild in their brain because they've been in this world before, so they know what kind of items there are, and just going, oh my gosh, I think I could make this, or I wonder what would happen if I fused this and this, because I know it existed in the last world. And yeah, just Nintendo has such confidence, and it's great. But it was just a great demo. It was just I found it interesting to watch from just like a game design and a way to communicate what your game can do, even though the content of it didn't interest me particularly. Yeah,
and I mean that's what I can't believe that Nintendo's developers are just so much ahead of everybody, at least when it comes to physics. Like, just implementing a skill like Ascend, right? All it is you can just go through anything vertical above you. They have to think about that entire world now. Is this going to break anything? Is this going to, allow a player to progress faster than we want them to, earlier than, like, whatever the case, like, there's so many things that they need to think of, which I understand your point that, like, this isn't for you, but I know that the developers and the people who design this world, you're going to have to get creative with the things to do the main mission, like, to get through the path of the games. And, like, I'm excited to see, what are they going to, demand from us as a player, and, will I be able to come across that stuff organically and have that aha moment that just feels really good, or, I just don't know, but I do know that this game's going to be awesome. I am very, very excited for it, It's
a lot like Elden Ring. Like, when I think about, like, both those kind of game designs of just, and I know Breath of the Wild was this way too, where it just put you in a world you kind of had a loose direction to go into, and the real highlight of the game is just the discovery. It's just the same in Elden Ring. It's like discovering hidden volcanoes and underground layers and all kinds of stuff like that. Weird bosses, weird enemies, and this game's going to do that too. But also have this giant layer of physics and tools to play with that, just going to keep you. This is going to be. I'm sorry, John. It's another 100-hour game. I guarantee you.
I know it is, but like I'm, while I'm playing through Elden Ring, like I'm honestly like, yeah, I could see myself beating this and just restarting it. Like these, like not that I'm going to, because it's more important to me to beat games, but like there are games that come around that are worth it, and this seems worth it. And I know Nintendo has probably a ton of surprises up their sleeve that we aren't even ready for. Like, shit, man, I remember when the first trailer for this came out, like Zelda was with Link in like some dark dungeon. She was wearing like almost adventuring outfit. Can you play as Zelda? I don't know. Like, Zelda might be a playable character with her own set of skills. Like, you don't know with Nintendo, and that's what's so exciting. You don't know that you want a Mario game where you throw your hat onto a T-Rex and then you're a T-Rex. You don't know that you want a Zelda game where you are using a Wiimote like a sword. And granted, some people didn't like that, but like they're the kings of being creative. And I think you're right with the Elden Ring comment, man. Like, this is the type of open world that I'm pretty sure every developer in the world wants to make, but right now, until somebody else can break into it, there's only two developers that can do it, and that's From Software and that's Nintendo. And they're just going to be able to expand upon the formula that they basically designed with the introduction of Breath of the Wild. So, very, very excited. Number one pick in the Fantasy League this year. High confidence. It's going to be dope. I probably should know if May 15th, May 12th.
I think it's mid-May, May 22nd, maybe.
Yeah, let me get that for you guys. May 12th.
Okay.
May 12th. So, funny enough, Horizon releasing another thing 2 weeks away from it.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Well, it's almost a month they'll have on its own.
Yeah, it's not competing proper or things. So, but right. Cannot wait.
All right, then let's move on. We got some news to cover.
All right. So on a less positive note, but luckily not too negative for Nick and I, because we don't play this game, but it is something we want to talk about, is the very, very popular 2022 Game Awards fighting game winner, MultiVersus, is still in beta, Nick. Did you know it's still in beta?
I forgot.
Yeah.
But I do remember when you launched the game, it always would say beta.
Yeah, so we have gotten confirmation that MultiVersus is going to be going dark for an extended period of time, which is a lot of different... we have a lot of different thoughts about it, so we wanted to kind of just get out the information and just discuss. But starting in June, the 2-year beta period is going to end, where they're going to go take the game completely offline, rework some things to hopefully have the game back out in 2024 early at some point. And there's a lot of different angles to kind of attack this from, Nick, but I first wanted to just talk about the player base and the concurrent players and things like that of MultiVersus. So when this game first came out, it had a peak of 153,433 players, right? When it came out, people were psyched. Oh, I can play Bugs Bunny versus Arya Stark, and like that's cool. And like, oh, it's a Smash competitor. And, hey, guess what? It's not halfway bad. You know, we've gotten all these Nickelodeon All-Star Brawls and these halfway decent ones, but never one that could actually compete with Smash. And they thought this would be it. What do you think, Nick, the 24-hour peak is of this game on Steam right now? We're keeping in mind it was 150,000.
Well, this is only the Steam numbers, right?
Correct.
So it doesn't include console.
No, but I think you could probably draw those lines across.
I'm sure it's low. This game has not had any content drop for a long time. I mean, since last year. So, yeah, and it's 100% why they're moving away for a minute, for a little bit.
Hey, I was going to make that point later.
Is that I'm sure it was probably under 1,000.
Yep, 644.
Yep.
So, and that's kind of, where I wanted to lead this conversation is like, somebody dug up a tweet from the director of MultiVersus back in June of 2022 saying like, hey, big fan of the game. I understand this is in beta. When it gets out of beta, what's the plans? And he's like, as long as there's no huge bugs, we plan to just roll into the release. Things happen, right? I understand bugs could come up, but they've never mentioned anything about that thus far. They're like, we need to take it back to retweak some things, to make sure we understand what our progression system are going to be for releasing content and things like that. And it just feels really bad because where was the communication, first of all? Like, nobody knew. The people who were playing this game didn't know that this game was, A, still in beta, and that they were just going to completely take it off in general. 2, this is a game that people have spent money on.
Yep.
It has 2 full season passes, and it's a game that people invested money and time into. So, like, and there's no refunds to be issued. They say, obviously, if you have credits in the game, it's going to roll over into the full release. But, like, when is that going to be? Like, you have to be more transparent with your communication. This is a game that had a $100,000 tournament at EVO. Like, that should not be the case for a game with beta. And I'm getting so tired of, this is in beta, this is early access, this is open beta. It's like, what are all these terms even mean? Like, I thought a beta was there to be able to iron out bugs and make sure you're ready for full launch, not to have a game for 2 years, to win awards, to win a game award, to have a $100,000 tournament, and just to be like, yeah, we're just going to take it away for a little bit. It's silliness.
You're right.
I don't like it. And I just, I wanted to kind of just get that out there because it's just, I think this game's dead now. Like, do you see a way that they can make MultiVersus splash again, or is it going to come back and people are going to like, yeah, I don't know.
So that's interesting that you think that way, because I'm kind of thinking this is the smart play.
Okay.
Because I don't think the game is limping along now.
Sure.
And I know it hasn't had any content, so that doesn't help. Like, if it had a season 3 and a season 4 leading up to this point, there might be more interest if there are more characters. But they haven't had any new content since November, so it makes sense to just pull back, have the game relaunch again. You get a new press cycle because all the sites will be covering the launch. You can sit there and bring another 8 new characters or something. You can fix all the issues that you and me had when we played the game back last year. I think it's smart. I think it's just a way to just MultiVersus 2.0. This is the new version of the game. Everything's been reworked, retuned, and we're back. All your credits are back. All your unlockables are back. And, people will at least be checking it out.
Yeah.
You
make a lot of good points. I think for me, it's mostly just I don't like the idea of companies just kind of being able to do what they want. Like, to be able to just toy around with the people who are supporting their product. Like, if the communication was better, if they said from the get-go, like, look, guys, like, you are helping us build this platform to be something special, and just a heads up, like, we are dedicated to it. We're going to probably be taking it offline later, and you know, to really support it. But it seems like a company that just like, oh shit, it didn't go the way we wanted it to. Okay, let's just go reverse everything we did. We're gonna figure it out and then come back. And it's just, you know, I hope they're able to figure it out and make a product that people want to get back behind. But it's like, I don't know, man. If I was one of these players that, like, one of these 644 people that have actually been wanting to play it for the last 24 hours, I'd just be mad. It's like, I'm the one that's here supporting you, and you're just gonna take it away, and I paid you money for what? I don't know, man. It just seems
the pitfalls of these live service
gross.
Games.
Yeah, and yeah, man, live service. I think it just needs to go away.
I think the one saving grace here is that this game was free. So it's free to play. So I think, you know, like, you didn't drop $70 or $60 to buy the game, and then this is happening.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just sitting on a dead launcher for a while. And it is coming back. So I guess you'll just have to, you know, if you did love the game, you're just gonna have to take a break and play one of the 30 sweet ass games that are coming out this year, you know.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game to keep our eye on when it comes back. I mean, yeah, to see if it just has that initial pop and falls off a cliff again, or if it stays. But they need to be able to have a better cadence with their characters. I mean, I think that's got to be the linchpin for everything with these platform fighting games. Is everybody got so excited in Super Smash Brothers when it's like, what's the next character going to be? What's it going to be? And if they have that same type of excitement for WB, like, you got Lord of the Rings, you got Looney Tunes, you have so many different things to pull from.
Yeah.
Like, you have more to pull from, almost honestly, than Nintendo did. So we'll see. I don't know. It strikes me as just kind of a very anti-consumer thing. Hopefully they turn it around and make it, you know, what people want it to be. But
the thing you mentioned, just what is a beta now, is it's just so funny. Like,
what is it?
It's nebulous. It's just a not finished product, but what it means as far as access and how long it will last. And I know, like, I think there's, like, DayZ has been in beta for years now, and it's just like, what does beta mean anymore? You know,
yeah.
We just went through a beta with Diablo, and it was 3 days, and MultiVersus will be in beta for a year. You know.
Yeah, there are some things in this industry that need ironclad definitions. That's one of them. Remake versus remaster is definitely another one. I don't know what you do, but I'm just, you know, it just allows these companies to kind of use language and use these buzzwords, I feel like, almost as weapons against people. And I know they're probably not doing that intentionally or maliciously, but it feels like it sometimes, where it's just like, hey, this is early access. It's not supposed to be good. It's like, well, but it's been out for 2 years. Like, what do you doing? They don't release it. It's just,
yeah. My point is, like, yeah, if you're charging money like MultiVersus was, I don't think you can call yourself a beta anymore.
And you're having tournaments, and you're eligible for award, like winning the best fighting game of the year. Like,
yeah,
it's a slap in the face to everybody else who had a fight, like a full release. So
yeah, so,
you know, because like when it comes out in 2024, is it eligible for like best new fighting game?
Yeah,
like I don't know. Like, again, awards don't matter, like in the grand scheme of things, but it's just feels like somebody's, like, I don't know, pulling the strings behind me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's corporate and marketing. That's all.
Yeah, this is America.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's all I got to say about that.
All right. So moving on. Earlier this week, things started moving around E3. We're getting there.
Oh, we're going there? It's E3 time?
Well, I got a story for you. You know, E3 has been limping along for a while now. You know, it is a physical trade show. You know, it used to be this big deal. It was this big weekly event. You'd have Microsoft on Sunday, and then you'd have Sony, Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft all throughout the week, and then you'd have all these hands-on impressions, all these journalists getting together, just news after news after news after news. But with COVID happening, E3 kind of just went away because, you know, you couldn't have big get-togethers anymore. And we saw kind of Nintendo that was kind of the first one to be like, we're not going to do a stage show anymore. We're just going to do a 45-minute video, just like they did with Tears of the Kingdom, you know, and we're just going to show our games on our time and not have this big event anymore. And slowly but surely, everyone started dropping out. Sony dropped out. They weren't there last year. Or anything around that, and Microsoft dropped out, and then IGN has kind of been on top of this. They've been kind of calling that E3's been dead for a while, for months now. But then, you know, we got even more words that Ubisoft is out this week, Sega is out this week, Tencent is out.
Yeah.
And so the rumor has started to swirl that is E3 just canceled, because is that why all these companies are just saying they're not going to be there? And sure enough, on March 30th, it was official. E3 died, at least for this year. We'll see what happens in the upcoming years, but it's kind of the end of an era, because I don't think it's coming back. I don't think there'll ever be a physical show.
No, I think we're going to get these dumb articles every February that's like, ESA trying to revive E3, and then it just doesn't happen. But I agree. Yeah,
and we're just going to have a bunch of events between, just like last year, you know, to John and I's dismay of, here's another event, and all summer long from May to August, we're just going to have event after event after event, and all these announcements are going to get spread thin. It sounds like things are going to be bigger this year, especially on the Sony end. Yeah. Fingers crossed that they're going to have a big blowout. You know, again, they're rumored that they're going to have a showcase from now until June that'll blow out.
Big summer blowout. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, blow out Spider-Man 2 and all their fall titles. So, you know, and even last year, I think our very first episode was called the Not E3 Roundup, because we had a Microsoft event, we had that Sony State of Play that announced Resident Evil 4. And there were a bunch of events sprinkled around it, but I don't know. I think we were talking about earlier that we actually loved E3. You know, as a week of content. I was big into Giant Bomb at the time, and on top of the showcases, they were doing like 4-hour podcasts every day, and just developer and Phil Spencer and all these other industry people would show up on it, and it was just a great watch. It was just so much video game content. It was like a smorgasbord of a buffet of news and impressions and videos, and you just got hyped because that's when all the games were announced. It was incredible. It was always you know, who won E3 was always a conversation. Like, who had the best showcase? Did Sony have it? Did Microsoft? Did Nintendo? And it's just gone.
It was just unmitigated joy for a week. You know, if you want to get a good sense of what E3 meant to certain people, look up Easy Allies Final Fantasy VII reveal. And you will see 2 grown men, I think maybe even 3, crying and jumping around and climbing on each other out of just sheer excitement that this property exists. And, like, we will still get those moments. Like, as we talked about with Tears of the Kingdom, that was a good way to show off a game, but there was just something about the condensing of it all into this Magic Week that made it feel so fun. And I'm starting to think that Geoff Keighley started COVID, because, like, you know, he you know, E3 died so Keighley could thrive.
Oh, he was quick to tweet out about Summer Game Fest coming June 8th.
I would too. No, Keighley's doing a great job. It's not, you know, I love Geoff, but it's just, it is a bummer that we're kind of, like you said, end of an era in this future now where it's going to be just these standalone kind of disembodied voice video probably things finally, for, you know, which is fine. But as long as I can get a big Sony showcase. I mean, once a year almost seems greedy at this point. Like, once every other year, maybe. I just still need those events where we can go, oh my god, it was this, and it was fucking this, and it was fucking this. Like, oh my god.
Well, yeah, when was the Wolverine, God of War, that was a Sony, Spider-Man 2? Yeah, when was it, though? That's why...
You weren't at work. I want to say it was...
No, it was 2021, I bet. That had to have been 2021.
Yeah,
there was no Sony showcase at all.
It definitely wasn't last year. We were in the last... Yeah. No, I think it was September 2021 would be my guess.
Yeah, so I think that's the worst part, is that there hasn't been a Sony event, and there has been other events, but like you said, it was so condensed. It was just nice that just you knew, like, going into this week, like, I'm gonna see some crazy shit. I'm gonna watch Cyberpunk hack the Xbox press conference at the end and get this crazy game trailer for Cyberpunk 2077.
You're breathtaking.
Oh, that was the year after. But yeah, but even that same moment, like Keanu Reeves coming on stage, like, there are just like moments that are just incredible that existed. And I think again, with this year kind of being a return to form for the video game industry as a whole, as far as like releases, that I think that these showcases will be coming back but they'll just be more spread out. Like Sony will probably have their big showcase in May. Microsoft will be back in June. We already have an Ubisoft event on June 12th. They're just going to be more spread out as opposed to like that very condensed week of 1 billion announcements. But I think the showcases themselves, when they do come, we'll get that feeling back.
Just give me those big. I need to have. I don't know. I need, like how I had that Hades 2 moment, right? I need a couple of those a year. E3's not needed, but it's wanted, and I don't want a future where Sony just has like 2 state of plays a month, and it's like, here's this game, okay, now here's this game, now here's this game. Like I need those big things that we all come to work and we just, can you believe this? What about this trailer? Like I remember when I first started getting into Reddit, and like I think it was during an E3 time, and I remember just scrolling on the PlayStation subreddit, and like I'd be scrolling for like, I don't know, 10 minutes, and like I came across a new trailer for something else. I'm like, what? And this was here? Like, it's just, I love that feeling. And so hopefully, either Keighley brings it hard or what the case is. But
I think so. I think we're still in the mindset of COVID when things were like drip feeds and there wasn't a lot to talk about. The consoles were just getting kicked off. We're still getting all the cross-gen stuff. And I think this summer is really going to go nuts because, again, Final Fantasy 16 is coming, Diablo's coming, Spider-Man 2 is coming, Starfield. There's going to be big blowouts for all these games. There's so many games coming this year that these events are going to be great. And again, we don't, especially in Sony's, as we talked about in the show, what's Sony been doing? What's this Last of Us multiplayer project? What is everything? Like, they're going to be there this summer. We're going to learn a lot.
What was that Uncharted weird tease that they decided to put into a commercial? What was that about?
Yeah. Yep. So E3 may be dead, but it will live on in Summer Game Fest and
in
all
my
the
heart.
showcases. Yeah,
it'll live in my heart.
It'll just be more spread out, which, as someone who does a podcast, could you imagine what our podcast would be in old E3?
No, we'd have
It'd be like 3 hours.
Yeah, we'd have to. I'd probably be like, Kylie, I'm going to spend the night at Nick's for our show, and we'd just get some really greasy bad food and just podcast, and like maybe that would be the thing that would be, hey guys, we're doing a live stream. I don't know, something fun like that. But that's the fun stuff that you really can't do with this kind of new future. But alas, again, we're still getting games. I mean, the reason we do this thing hobby anyways to play games, so still gonna get all that stuff, but not the big week. But all right, well, Nick, it's time to wrap up the show, and what better way to wrap up a show than our good old PlayStation Essentials game. So just going to go over some of these where, again, PlayStation Essentials is the lowest tier of the subscription service. So, if you just subscribe, you play online games, you will be getting these. And remember, even if you don't plan on playing these games, highly recommended, just add them into your library. That way you don't have to worry about it. If, you get some friends later that says, oh my God, did you play this game? Like, it's amazing. And it does feel weird, Nick. This is the first month, I think, in God knows how long, that I'm not able to go in there and just add them into my library because we're not subscribers at the moment. But
you're not. I'm still.
Oh, you still are? So
I'm still June.
Okay.
Mine's still June.
All right. Well, you can tell me how this first game is. First game coming, and this is a cool one because it's one of those rare day one releases into the service, and that game is called... Why are you shaking your head? You don't want to play it?
No, not
fine.
My thing.
It's called Meet Your Maker. And this is coming from Behavior Interactive, who have done Dead by Daylight. So it's a team that knows, a little bit of something about games. That's a very, very popular game. One of probably the most sneaky popular games out there. But Meet Your Maker is a post-apocalyptic first-person building and raiding game where every level is designed by players for players. So Doom meets Minecraft?
Yeah,
kind of.
Pretty much.
So again, like I said, developed by Behavior Interactive. I think it's really smart that they're adding this into the service day one.
Yep.
I think this
Any
game
game
will,
like this.
will die or survive based on the level of interactivity, you know. And so if you're gonna
the
just
player base.
and the player base, yeah. If all the levels are created by players, you need those players there. So really smart move, I think, to put a game onto the service day one. If you are not a subscriber, it will be $30. So you know, not too bad of a price, but that will be coming on April 4th. Next up, oh, and sorry, that is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Next up, we have a PlayStation 5 launch title from Sumo Digital. That's Sackboy: A Big Adventure. Also coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And this is a game, you know, I think that a lot of people kind of wrote off initially just based on the cartoonish nature of it, childlike vibe that it gives out. But I did beat this game. I bought this game on launch, and I highly encourage people to check it out if you're into platformers. It's not as childlike as you would think. It has a lot of that vibe, but it's also got some of the most brutally hard platforming I've had in a game. I've seen in a game, specifically one part towards the end of the kind of like the time trials that you can do. But
What would you review this game?
I'd give it an 8.
That's not our scale.
4?
4?
4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd give it a 4. Like, yeah, it's first off, I like platformers. Like Rayman Legends is one of my favorite games, honestly, ever. I like that style, and it's just charming. The music's great. It controls well. You know, it's. I know we have a 5-point scale, but I internally use a 10-point scale. An 8 seems very appropriate.
Okay.
So I would definitely check it out. You know, if you're into those kind of games. And then lastly, also coming to PS4 and PS5, we're getting the 2021 2D action RPG side-scroller, Tales of Iron, developed by Oddbug Studios. Now, I did a little bit of research on this game, Nick. I gotta say, I kind of want to play this one.
It does look pretty good.
Reviewed at an 83 on Metacritic, which is, you know, higher than I would have, you know, given it I would have thought it was. But, you know, it features tough as nail combat, very interesting art style, you know, and weirdly enough, you know, like kind of people that like Soulsborne combat is kind of the thing, it seems. But after reading a couple reviews, seems like it has a very mature, awesome story. Weirdly enough, you kind of play as this king of the rats who kind of, I think you need to defend your kingdom against some frogs. You know, kind of a mature story told in a more childlike way. You know, I think of like do you ever read the Redwall books back in the day?
No.
No, okay, kind of like those. But I just wanted to read a quick review from Gaming Trend, who gave it a 90 out of 10. So again, this is somebody who probably vibes with this game a little bit more, but just wanted to give it a little bit of shine because I do think this is the exact kind of game that just people gloss over and don't give it any time of day. But it says, Tales of Iron is a fantastic, brutal, and gorgeous game. Placing rats at the forefront of an adventure game was a bold move and serves the world that Oddbug Studio has created immensely. The battle between the frogs and rats is intense, the combat is challenging yet fair, and the wide variety of equipment is sure to make any RPG fan excited to experiment with new loadouts. I enjoyed every moment spent in the Rat Kingdom and can only hope to see more of Redgi, his brothers, and this fantastic world. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of... I like to give indie games a little more shine. You know, they get forgotten about. Sure. You know, there's some people that don't like to play those games, but
and I think they're always the best example of these services because you can try it for free, you know, instead of having to commit. You know, I know indie games aren't very expensive usually, but $10 to $20. Here, it's just here. Try it, and if you like it, you know.
Yeah, so I think this is one of those months, Nick, that, well, you know, at first glance it kind of goes, ugh. But, like, if you're into... I don't know. It fits a couple different fields pretty well, and I think there's going to be something for somebody here.
A day-and-date game and 2 well-reviewed games that you can't argue.
3 games to at least check out. Might not be for you, but you should check them out. So, so yeah, that's our essentials for April.
All right, cool. Yeah, we're moving on. April's here, and you know, games are coming.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what. So. April is, I know we've probably said this 3 times on the show already. Burning Shores and Jedi Survivor. Those are the 2, right? Those are the two biggies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
you're getting you already pre-ordered Survivor, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be out by now, so unfortunately, I'm just waiting.
Honestly, it's a better time for you though. Honestly, like it'd be better than if it was you. Like, I got this and I got RE4 and then I got Persona.
Yeah.
Like you can hopefully get through Persona before that.
Yeah,
Do that.
and there's some more releases. Yeah, Dead Island 2 is April. Minecraft Legends is April. And, you know.
I think I know what site you just pulled up.
Yeah. So they're. I mean, yeah, games are coming, and yeah, we mentioned June is like that's the big one. Like, oof, some games then. So
Yeah, I think I'll be doing. I think my year is Elden Ring into RE4 from you, hopefully into Zelda, into Final Fantasy. And then probably just beating all 4 of those games over the course of the next year because I won't have beaten any of them. That's probably my course.
I think you'll get through Resident Evil 4 pretty fast.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I know I've said this probably 6 times on the show at this point, but I had a good day with Elden Ring, as the listeners know, and I had a good night last night with Elden Ring. So I'm feeling motivated to keep it going, which is half the battle is feeling the motivation.
Sure.
So, yep.
All right, so we did 6 things. Do you have anything to tease? I know Elden Ring is the big one. I will probably have Resident Evil 4 beat and have some final thoughts on that.
No, I'm just in my holding pattern with Neon White and Elden Ring, and then I'll probably boot up Hogwarts just to kind of I don't know, like it's a good side game. It's just like I don't feel like doing anything hard or stressful. Let me fly a broom, learn some spells, and I don't know if I'll ever beat it, but it's still, I'm still in that early part of it where it just kind of still feels a little magical. But
you also know what April means.
April Fools.
We gotta decide on our bonus episode. So we'll have to think of a topic, and if you're listening and you want us to play a specific game or have an idea for an April bonus episode, let us know. Email it in at PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com. But yeah, we have to get on top of that. Maybe
ranking the mainline Resident Evil games.
As a bonus episode, we could do that in the show.
Yeah, that's true. But we can have a deep dive.
True.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, maybe it'll be Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, you've got some Resident Evil fucking knowledge this past couple months, man. So I don't know. We'll talk it over. Probably have some info for you guys next week.
Yeah, and then again, the lead up to summer is usually we're gonna get more impressions, kind of like we got with Tears of the Kingdom. There'll probably be more gameplay videos for so many games that are coming. So there'll always be something to talk about.
Was there? I know the rumor was the PlayStation Showcase in May. Was part of that rumor that there'd be a state of play before that as well? Or no, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But sure, maybe
there
might be a state of play for Burning Shores.
It'd be weird. I still feel like there's not going to. It's just if it's a $20 game, it'd be 4 or 5 hours at the most. So it'd be weird to.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. There we go.
All right. So what song are we leaving them on, John?
Going down a little nostalgia trip. This something about this track just sticks in my brain because I remember watching my cousins play this game when I was probably 4 or 5. And that's Super Castlevania 4, and this is Simon's theme, which is the very first track you hear in the very first level. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Maybe Konami will actually have some more news too coming up.
I mean, they're churning them. They're shuffling around. I mean, they're not ready to have their big coming out party again yet, but they're shuffling. There's something brewing.
So when you listen to this, pray that Konami does anything with Castlevania, Metal Gear, their franchise.
What's the other big one? Silent Hill. That one's coming. So yeah.
So, all right, enjoy this song. We thank you for listening, and we will be back next week with 6 more things. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
Leon! Small world, eh? Well, I see that the president's equipped his daughter with ballistics, too.
How rude! And I don't believe there's any relevance with my figure and my standing. Who are you?
Oh, excuse me, Your Highness. Perhaps the young lady might want to introduce herself first before asking someone his name.
Her name's Ashley Graham, the president's daughter.
Is she... well, you know...
Don't worry. She's cool.
Well, never mind. There's supposed to be some kind of obvious symptom before you turn into one of them anyway.
Look!
Ashley, upstairs!
Okay, it's game time.